we were having this great conversation around what in the heck, I mean, like, you have several options whenever you're buying a house. We all know right now, if you're buying a house, chances are you're gonna have to pay more than what the list price is. By the way, I'm Michelle Castle with Guild Mortgage. I'm the money part, she's the house part. So this conversation is a great one to have between the two of us. She finds you the house, I'll write the check. But you're gonna have to help me right now with this market. So you find a house, and it's almost like the list price is the suggested base price. Because if you just offer what the seller's asking for,
it's still not enough.
It's not enough. It's not enough. And I even went through the emotions of this as a buyer. I was looking at a piece of property to buy in Central Texas this weekend. And I'm looking at the base price, and I'm sitting there thinking, how much over do I have to pay?
How bad do you want it?
How bad do I want it? How much over am I gonna have to pay? Because there's already 6 offers on the house. Not knowing what the other offers are. And then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, what's it gonna appraise for? And how much more above the appraised value am I gonna have to pay? So then I have an idea what my check is gonna be. No longer is your check based on down payment, closing costs, taxes, and insurance. It's down payment, closing costs, and then down payment, closing costs, taxes, and insurance, and above list price. So we're calling that appraisal gap.
Yes. It's happening way more often.
And it's not even specific to a price range. It is straight across the board.
Yes. Be prepared for what is your buyer willing to do.
Yeah, so, you know, whenever I was going through the whole emotions of all of that and trying to, in my mind, be prepared for how would I make an offer? And let me just tell you, Christy will tell you too. Actually, she could probably tell you the different points of negotiation in a contract. It's not always about the money. Sometimes it's about how long you will allow the seller to stay in the home so that they can put the money in the bank from the sale of the house and go find a house, because you can't sell a house and go buy a house immediately anymore. You can't have any financing contingencies and get the deal, get the contract. You can't win the contract. And so sellers have to sell their house, put the money in the bank, pay off whatever debts they need to pay off so that they can afford to buy another house. So sometimes I think it's an occupancy. How much are you willing to pay for their house, and how long are you allowing the seller to stay in the house so that they can go find a house and buy a house without charging them anything, which then opens up another insurance liabilities and all kind of other scenarios. So we won't even go there. But so then when you're writing the contract, you know, you got your occupancy, how much you're willing to pay an option. Option is more important than earnest. But how much are you going to pay for that? I mean, what are you asking the seller to pay? I've seen some contracts written where buyers are paying sellers real estate commissions.
Some are.
Title policies.
Definitely.
You know, and so it's totally different than it was a year ago. And now we have this addendum that addresses some of those scenarios. In my mind, as a lender, I always want to be prepared for plan A. That's best case scenario. Plan B, if it happened, it'd be okay. Plan C is worst case scenario. Do you have the money in the bank to handle A, B, and C? And are you okay with the payment A, B, and C? And then you can decide how you're going to structure the contract. So for me, you have to have the end in sight. And then reverse engineer for the contract. So, but let's talk about that addendum now that you're seeing. I mean, that you need on every transaction.
Well, it's the appraisal waiver. Is a lot of people, you know, a lot of cash and conventional. We didn't have that protection for those type of buyers that if the property didn't meet value. So they came up with this addendum, and I was asking Michelle, agents are just filling in, you know, whatever the scenario looks like, and maybe not doing it in the best interest of their client, and not explaining it to their client buyer. So if you just are basically having your buyer accept they're gonna pay the difference in an appraisal that it did not meet value. That's kind of a signed blank check. So my question to her was like, why would anybody do that, number one? Number two, are you getting verification that that buyer has unlimited funds to pay the difference in that appraisal?
That's what I love about Christy. She's already thinking, okay, if I'm writing this offer, or if I'm on the listing side of the transaction and I'm looking that someone says that they will pay whatever they have to pay, regardless of what the house appraises for, she's gonna pick up the phone and call the lender, whether she's on the buyer side of the seller side, and say, listen, are you willing to pay 100%? Or do they have the funds to pay 100%? Because that's basically the addendum of saying it does not matter what the house appraises for, you're moving forward. And so in that case, I can't prepare an A, B, or C that covers all of the A, B's, and C's, because you don't have a dollar figure other than
that's the
that you're going to buy the house. That's it.
In that addendum. So the other two, of course, they do have limits, you know, that says, okay, I'm willing to pay 10,000, or, you know, you fill in those blanks. And then the third option, of course, is basically saying that if it does not meet value, then, you know, we can terminate the contract. But I did receive one that was like a blank, a signed blank check. And I was like, oh my gosh. I don't think the agent really knew what position they put their buyer in.
So you need to have those great conversations with your lender, because they're helping you write the check. We're writing the big check, you're writing what feels like a big check. And you need to know what that big check's gonna be. So your down payment, closing costs, taxes, and insurance, plus how much above the appraised value you're willing to pay. And go ahead and stipulate what you're comfortable paying in the contract. Don't leave yourself out there by agreeing to pay whatever the house appraises for. It doesn't matter, you're gonna still write the check. Because unless you have the ability to pay cash and you really, really don't care what that difference is, you're just gonna get a loan for however much you can, then you need to put in there a dollar amount that you're okay paying over the appraised value. That's called the appraisal gap. Or you put in there that you're not willing to pay anything over the sales price. But protect yourself.
Absolutely.
Ask those questions, and don't expect you do your due diligence to make sure that you are not getting yourself into a contract or a loan that you cannot afford.
And get to the closing table.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So just wanted you guys to be very mindful of that. Behind me, I have what we call a total cost analysis. My team is very thorough at reviewing all of those numbers after we have thoroughly pre-approved you. We know exactly how much you qualify for, the max amount. You know what options are available. You have an idea what the figures are going to be. Now it's just a matter of finding the house and giving you some additional A, B, and C plans to put in place when you do find that house, so that you have an idea what those numbers are going to look like.
Y'all are fantastic.
Thank you.
My buyers love you, and I love you, and everybody here at the office is just so helpful and informative, and that's what I tell my folks. Call y'all if they have any questions that I can't answer. I tell them, pick up the phone.
We will be happy to answer.
Yes.
I paid her to say that.
No, she didn't.
No. We've known each other for 17 years, so we've worked together and through all kind of ups and downs and crazy markets. So we gotcha.
Yes.
Give us a call. Christy's your house, your girl for the house. I'll give you the money.
There you go.
Bye-bye.